Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Marty Mrazik of EAS. Welcome to Sports Psychology 123, Mental Performance by Athletes and for Athletes. For today's show, we're going to have a discussion about being a multi-sport athlete and whether that can help or hurt your development, especially in the sport of hockey. We're also going to dive into the topic of being a well-rounded individual and how that can be a differentiating factor in the development of a young athlete. To help us do that, I'd like to introduce our special guest, Rhys Pederson. Rhys grew up in Stettler, Alberta. He's been a core member of the Edmonton Oil Kings Hockey Club in the Western Hockey League the last 4 years and served as an assistant captain this past season. He's always loved sports, grew up playing a lot of them, including baseball, basketball, lacrosse. Love the lacrosse, by the way, handball, golf, and hockey. As someone who has been a high-performance athlete and a mentor in the community, Rhys has learned countless important life lessons and has lots of knowledge to share. Importantly, he was the winner of the Edmonton Oil Kings Humanitarian of the Year Award for 25-26 for his dedicated involvement in the community. Rhys, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having Marty, and thank you for the introduction. Quite the spiel. So, thank you for that.
You bet. So first of all, just tell us a little bit of what's been keeping you busy in the last couple of weeks here.
Yeah, it's obviously tough going out early and kind of being all in one day, and then end up losing that game seven, and guys are kind of filing home the next day and saying goodbyes and whatnot. It's definitely a quick turnaround, and lots of changes and emotions and whatnot involved in that. Definitely spent a lot of time with the guys that first kind of week that we're all still together, and then the last week been a little slower for me, obviously with the expenditure during the season and the physicality and me dealing with a few injuries as well. Your body really takes a hit and it takes a toll on you. So I just kind of been chillaxing and having a bit of a slower lifestyle the last week, and love doing lots of outdoor activities. And with the weather kind of looking better now, I'm looking forward to that. And was just in Jasper last weekend and did some hiking and some outdoor stuff around there. And then just today started a summer job at the golf course here in Edmonton. So be doing that in the mornings, and yeah, so that's kind of what I've been doing, and always a learner. So love to read and love watching movies, watching sports, and can always find something to do.
Yeah, awesome. It's always like it's fascinating to me how, like you said, you go from being so involved in the playoffs and then it suddenly shifts away from that. And then, the structure, all that kind of stuff, it changes really quickly. And that's a huge adjustment, physically and psychologically. So let's dive into this. You were a multi-sport athlete. And there's a lot of discussions these days about some of the concerns about specializing too early, especially in the sport of hockey. For you, did being a multi-sport athlete help or hurt your development? And just tell us a little bit about your experience.
Yeah, no, I think there's no doubt that it definitely helped me and continues to help me. And it's obviously kind of difficult. It's easy to say, it's good being a multi-sport athlete. It's good taking time away from the game. But for me, growing up, I was always passionate about the game, and I always wanted to do more, wanted to do more. I see the guy beside me, he's doing all this training. So I feel like I'm falling behind by not doing it, or not doing the extra skates and whatnot. So it's definitely easy to kind of say it's best to be multi-sport, because once you're in it, you always feel like you're falling behind. But I definitely think my parents kind of pushed me to try different things out and do different things. Like you kind of said in my introduction, obviously did a lot of different sports and met a lot of different people through them. So I obviously built lots of friendships, so lots of bonds with those people, and continue to be close with a lot of them to this day. So I definitely think there's a social aspect to that versus kind of being around the same guys, same team year round. It's good and you love the guys, but at the same time, it's good to kind of meet new people who come from different areas and, kind of have a different perspective. And then I think just physically, like, definitely helped my athleticism. And I think that's shown just in our team fitness testing and testing I've done. I'm always kind of at the top and one of the higher performers in that. And I think a lot of that has to do with obviously my build, but at the same time, I think being a multi-sport athlete and, I used to do lots of different training, less traditional hockey specific stuff. And living in a small town, all we had was a CrossFit gym. So that was kind of my thing. And when I was younger and getting into like weightlifting and working out and whatnot in the off season. I was a CrossFitter, so it was a little different than my training nowadays, but I think it helped a lot. And with my build and the way my body's built, like skating's really hard on my hips and hard on my body in general, and I think that's the case for a lot of kids. And you see a lot of injuries, and you see a lot of problems that may not come when you're younger and grinding and playing hockey year round. You might not see it, but I think as you get older and kind of have to face like a 68 game season, even if it doesn't seem like it, all that time and pressure that you put on your body when you're younger, I think it definitely adds up. No doubt, being a multi-sport athlete and doing different things and changing your pace a little bit is good, both mentally and physically.
Interesting. I mean, it sounds like from your vantage point, physically, it helped you. It helped you just with your conditioning. Maybe it was related to your fitness testing, but psychologically, you had to adjust to that well because you can't, play hockey. And so you feel like you're falling behind your peers when you're playing other sports, right? So psychologically, you had to adjust to that. Sounds like you feel overall was a good thing, but you definitely had to think about it. You had to, ease your the anxiety maybe of not doing, playing hockey as much as somebody else. But once you had that adjustment, it sounds like overall you felt it was beneficial for you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And for me, I was always kind of into baseball, and it's definitely a lot different of a sport than hockey. I mean, hockey, you're grinding, it's full speed, you're battling, it's physical, coaches are on you. And then for me to go to the summer and be able to play baseball, like you're still active, you're still, working coordination, still working all kinds of things that are applicable. But at the same time, you're just kind of chilling and relaxing with your buddies in the dugout or in the field. And it's definitely kind of less stressful. And I think it's just can become too much when you're under the heavy stress of hockey all the time.
Yeah, it's so fascinating how each sport has its own nuances, and baseball is very much about being so ready for a very short moment. Hockey is broader than that. You really have to shift your attention, but it sounds like just the fact that you had to do a lot of those things, maybe it was beneficial for your mind and your body overall.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. You gain different perspectives. Like for me, I was into basketball, but I'm gonna be honest, like I wasn't really the best at it. And in that, kind of being more of a role player and not necessarily getting the playing time, I understand the importance of just being a good teammate, understand the importance of like playing a different role, even though, a lot of times growing up with in a small town and with guys that weren't as capable as I was, you feel like you're so confident, you're the guy. And then when you get to like the Western League or whatever it is, and you're not that guy anymore. I kind of already experienced that in other sports and kind of had that perspective built in me already. I think that helped a lot as well.
Wow, that's fascinating. That's a really interesting point about how other sports, because you weren't as good at them. You really have to figure things out of how you fit in and how to work around that. That's a really, really great point. Shifting into the humanitarian stuff. And as you know, I've been a real big fan of yours when I see everything that you do in terms of your leadership, but also the importance of being involved in the community. So how was being involved in the community? How do you think that was important for your development as a player and as a person?
Is very important, and I'd argue more important than anything I've done. A training session or a hard skate, it's all good and it helps you out in your development. But I think, being a little more humble or seeing some different people in different walks of life and maybe in less fortunate situations than you, I think that's more impactful than anything you can do, physically for yourself. As a part of the Oil Kings, we're always pushed and encouraged to kind of do different things in the community and be those leaders and kind of show the way. And there's no doubt that it's helped me develop as a person. And like I said, when we're playing in front of 10,000 people and you score a big goal, you're feeling great about yourself. Lots of times it can get to your head, but then the next day you're going to a children's hospital and, around these kids that are like in very, very horrible situations. And it's definitely a humbling experience. And kind of realize like, hey, like what I'm doing is bigger than just myself. It's great to develop and it's great to move on and, maybe one day go pro or whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, like being in our situation with as many eyes on us as there are, like you're making a big impact on lots of people's lives. And I think that's super important. It's something that every person in my position should kind of tap into a little more.
Yeah, no, I remember some of our conversations where you said just that, Reese, where just it gives you such a different perspective, right? When you're sitting there and you realize that these kids are looking to you, and suddenly, what you did on the ice last night, not as important. They're just happy to spend, and you committing time and being present with them. It kind of changes your perspective on things, right? And it sounds like for you, like that's part of your growth is that it really kind of challenged you, maybe made you a little uncomfortable in some ways, but at the same point, it was really it just really aligned with your values and really helped you feel like just yeah, like you're committing to something not just hockey, but something bigger than yourself. Sounds like there's a lot of that in your.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt. And I always just think back to when I was a kid and, in the situations where like watching WHL games and being a part of that and just how excited I was. And I think it definitely motivated me and encouraged me to get to where I am today because I was watching these older guys who I kind of idolized. And when I understand that, maybe this is achievable and I think just kind of being that mentor and being that role model for the other kids watching is very important. And obviously making the extra time for them after the game, before the game, whatever it is. I just think if I was in their situation, how much I'd appreciate it. So I always try to kind of give back and do my part and kind of showing the way.
Yeah, I know. I love that outward focus that you have, Reese, of how, like you say, you're trying to see it through other people's eyes and not just your own, and what a powerful statement that is. So, just to quickly wrap it up here, what advice from a mental performance perspective would you give to a young hockey player?
Yeah, that's kind of a tough one. I don't know, something that I get asked quite often. I feel like a lot of people might want to hear me say train harder, work hard, all that. I just think don't lose your love for the game. And I think if you really do love it, um, it's awesome. It's super rewarding. Something that I'm very lucky to have experienced and lucky to continue to experience it. But it's the biggest thing, like if it's a coach, if it's, maybe a parent or a grandparent or something like that, that's putting a lot of pressure on you, try to kind of look past that as best you can and understand like you're doing it for the love of the game and you're doing it for fun. And I'm sure Marty's had lots of conversation and talks about it, but I think everyone knows that you play your best when you're having fun too. So that's something that I've never lost and hopefully never will. And I think it kind of continues to motivate me is just how much fun I have when I'm out there and with my friends, and, playing the game that a 5-year-old self me couldn't get enough of. So I think that's the biggest thing is just don't lose your love for the game. And there's ups and downs, there's lots of times where it seems really discouraging, seems tough, but at the end of the day, like you love it. And I just say try to tap into that and get those feelings to get you through those tough times.
Yeah, I love it. Just keep your love of the game. Keep reminding yourself of why you do those things. I mean, we hear, we do hear that reason. Yet, I think you're a person that's really lived that, right? You've really committed to that by your involvement in the community, your approach to leadership, all those kind of things. Thanks for joining us today. Really great to hear for your perspectives about being a multi-sport athlete, about giving to the community, all those important things. I loved having you, and hopefully we can have you back again sometime soon.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you very much, Marty. Look forward to our next conversation.